In a world full of no, we are a church full of yes. This was the affirmation given to our leadership by the pastor who visited for our annual church conference. Reverend Ron Foster was my childhood pastor. When I came up on the steps for children's message, it was Pastor Ron who would teach me about the faith. Ron has been following our ministry closely for the past several years, and he brought to our conference a word of encouragement. He shared a moment on a Southwest airplane flight when he looked down at his napkin. Southwest always has pretty clever napkins. And he read, "In a world full of no, we are a plane full of yes." He asked the attendant for a few napkins to take home for his staff, and she brought him a whole sleeve of napkins. She was making sure he understood they were a plane full of yes, absolutely. Ron was convicted by the message to challenge the churches that he influenced to be churches full of yes. And so he came to us affirming, "You, Wesley Freedom, are a church full of yes." Your people look to you trusting a yes. The neighborhood looks to you trusting a yes. And he shared that as a pastor in our connection, the whole region looks to you, he said, to learn how to be a church full of yes. His message encouraged all of us to keep on doing the ministry that we're called to do, and he inspired me to consider a bit more deeply what it means for us to continue being a church that can say yes. First and foremost, friends, let's remember that our yes is possible because God first said yes to us. The most profound yes we can give at Wesley Freedom is the affirmation, "Yes, you belong here." This assurance is not really ours to extend, but rather ours to carry forward. As we read in John 3:17, God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Jesus does not come to dismiss us from grace, to exclude us from God's company. Jesus comes into the world to save us all into eternal relationship with God and relationship with each other. And so at Wesley Freedom, we have the privilege, the honor, and the responsibility to extend God's yes to everybody. And so Republicans and Democrats and independents and libertarians, come on in and eat with us. Married, single, divorced, widowed, come and feast together. Gay, straight, male, female, non-binary, you are valued here. Rich, poor, immigrant, natural born, at the table of Jesus. In the community gathered in this place, you are valuable, you belong. In a world full of no, not you, I don't think so. We're a church full of yes. That yes begins in childhood. At Wesley Freedom, we say yes to our children, not in a superficial way, but in a 365 days of the year, morning till evening kind of way. In the last hour, 22 teachers shared and cherished our children. They shared with them the love of Jesus. That commitment continues throughout their lives. To our teens, we hope that our yes will be amplified, that it will continue to be spoken. Yes, we love you. Yes, you're a child of God. Yes, you matter here, even over the noise of adolescence. That they'll hear our yes consistently over them. On Confirmation Day and every day, they're wondering where they fit. Yes. Yes, we have a place for your faith questions. Over 30 different times this week, persons will gather to share their faith, to ask hard questions, and find people to belong to. Yes, there's a place. Yes, we care. Every single day, our phone rings, and those who answer our phone are trained to say yes. in the best way we possibly can. Yes, we hear you. Yes, we care. Yes, here is the best way that we can provide care. If it's urgent, we can most likely extend care today, getting someone to you in the thick of it. If there's time, we can schedule the best person to support you. The yes is not just for those of you who worship here. It's for your family and your neighbors. We live in a community where it's estimated 6 out of 10 people do not have a faith home. Most of the people that live on your street don't have a pastor. And so we're very aware at Wesley Freedom that so often the yes we give is to someone who's never been here yet. And our first opportunity to connect is to care, to be the pastor for the one who doesn't have one, the church for the one who doesn't know where they belong yet. Yes. Yes, we can say yes often because of our partnerships. We can say yes because of pastoral care, because of the expansion of our care team, because we have increasing numbers of Stephen ministers, and we can say yes because of our partnership with Hope Rising. So often, church, and I want us to all understand this, I might be the pastor who steps in for an acute loss. Someone in your family passes away. You might be assigned a Stephen minister then who will care for you for a season, or you might be invited to a grief support group at Hope Rising. Every single night of the week, we have a support group here, going alongside persons, helping you thrive even as you journey through addiction, helping you find support and community as you recover from abuse or loss or struggle. Our yes is not a Band-Aid. Our yes is a long-term commitment to journeying with you towards wholeness. And yes, sometimes it's as simple as food. On Sundays, we have bread to share. Some of the young men gathering for this worship service said, "Pastor, do we get to eat that good bread today?" And I was real careful not to say no, because I'm saying we're a church full of yes. I said, yes, but you have to wait until December 1st. Yes, we have good bread for you 2 weeks from today. Sometimes the yes has to be, kept in its place. But brother, if you're hungry, Wesley Freedom has food for you every single day. On the last Saturday of the month, it would be full groceries through South Carroll Food Pantry. On Monday, Thursday, or Friday, it could be a hot meal through Community Table. But if you walk in here at 2 o'clock on Tuesday and your cupboards are empty, you will go home with food because of who we are, the ways we preserve the yes. It never fails, church. We have more first-time visitors in our 2 weeks of generosity sermons than any time during the whole year. It's just how God messes with me. And I stand up here kind of trembling like, oh gosh, this is so cliche. We went to church, and what did she talk about? Money. I had a first-time visitor at the end of service last Sunday say, "Pastor, I really enjoyed worship today. I've never seen a pastor so excited about Generosity Sunday." He followed up by saying, "Most of my previous pastors were kind of scared of it. They hid under the pulpit. They were like, when can we get back to the good stuff like baby Jesus and Advent and that kind of thing?" He said, "But you were so excited. How can you be so excited to talk about money?" And I said, because Generosity Sundays remind us how our financial giving is how we say yes to all the things we're called to do all year round. Every offering, every pledge empowers us to say yes. The money you put in the offering plate today allows Dan and I to turn the lights and the heat on tomorrow morning and welcome like 200 3-year-olds and their families to come for Thanksgiving Chapel. And we get to witness to all those families that our Thanksgiving is not generic. It is directed to the one God who has provided everything. Your yes, your pledge to give every month in 2025 preserves our yes for another year. It lets the leadership I'm pulling back the curtain and letting you know how it all works. Your pledges empower the leadership tomorrow to set a budget for 2025 that says we preserve our ministry. We get to do what we do another year. Sherry can purchase Sunday school curriculum. Tim can meet with teens in crisis. Dan can organize 80 musicians to lead us in a cantata. I can go to the hospital. South Carroll Food Pantry will have space to set up the grocery store, and Hope Rising will have a counseling office. It's not magic. It's you. It's your giving that empowers the yes. Our generosity is an inseparable part of who we are. As Paul wrote to the church in Corinth, now as you excel in everything, and Wesley Freedom, you do. I'm such a grateful pastor. In faith, in speech, in knowledge, in utmost eagerness. So we want you to also excel in this generous undertaking. We have this incredible culture of serving. You will blow me away this week with all of your crafts and all of your baking and all of your sewing and the ways that God uses you, and you share yourself so generously. This week we had a woman hear a call last week to take over caring for our altars. Your giving provides the oil that she will use to light the lamps. The two are held in balance. Our giving is a part of believing in a provision, a God of provision, and a part of belonging in community. So asking you to give is not an uncomfortable side trip. Giving is a central, integral part of what it means to be us. As we pray and worship, so we give. This is the way the church began in the book of Acts. As soon as they realized the power of Jesus to transform lives and offer life eternal, they became community. A community that worshiped and gave together. Now the whole group of those who believed, we read, were of one heart and soul. They gave their testimony to the resurrection. Great grace was upon them all. There was not a needy person among them, for as many as owned lands or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of what was sold. Giving to support the work of the church community was a part of the DNA from the start. And your financial generosity continues to empower everything we do. So now, friends, you've heard the foundation. Last week, we were reminded that all we have is a gift from God. Every one of your resources, a precious seed, packed full of power and potential to grow what you value. This week, we see the direct connection between our giving and the church's ability to say yes. Now we hear the rally cry to take action. The Apostle Paul, whom we've been following all season because of his brave yes to God, now turns to you and me and says, now finish doing it. Now finish doing it. Don't just think about adjusting your priorities so you can make a bold pledge for monthly giving. Don't just talk about increasing the percentage of your income you give. Do it. Follow through. Put your life where your heart is. He writes, so that your eagerness may be matched by your completing it according to your means. According to your means. That is both a challenge and a grace note. According to your means. Hear this, church. God knows where you sit this morning. If you are financially stressed, if you're struggling to feed your family, if your ends are not meeting rent or mortgage, there are many ways you can serve and contribute. This may be our season to financially support you. We are called to give according to our means. The gift is acceptable based on what you have, not what you don't have. God knows. God knows your financial reality, and God does not pile on with guilt or cause despair for those who are financially struggling. If you are between jobs, if you're experiencing financial difficulty, rather than turning in a pledge card today, turn in a prayer slip. We'll pray with you for provision. For if the eagerness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one doesn't have. It's the amount and the sacrifice that encourages. It sounds hard, doesn't it? It will require some discipline to give out of what we have, but it's worth it. Our giving, what you give to the church, is the seed money, the source of energy and encouragement from which the ministry of our community can grow. This was the story of Barnabas that was read to us. He was so excited about his church's yes. For the first time, the church was able to say yes to Jew and Gentile, inviting everybody with faith to the table. He was so excited, he sold a field, his source of food and future income. He sold a valuable asset because he was so excited to encourage his church's yes. He wanted to encourage the yes. Here's the reality, friends. To say yes to ministry in a significant way, you will most likely have to say less to something else in your life. We're not just called to give out of our extra. Wesley Freedom's reach is too broad. Our yes is too big and too faithful to be funded by our leftovers. It will require of us a sacrifice, the giving up of lesser things in order to give a bold gift. But it's worth it because our gifts are that seed money. It is the amount that we give and the sacrifice that really encourages. In our gospel lesson today, we heard of two other groups in addition to Barnabas who were encouragers. The first Jesus' mentions was the rich who put in large sums. I want us to note that while often in our exegesis, our understanding of the passage, we put down the rich, Jesus doesn't. He celebrates their gift too. Some of you have the gift of financial abundance. Some of you have resources. Some can sing, some can build altars, some can figure out financial accounts, some can preach or teach. Some of you are blessed to give abundantly. You're blessed with resources. If you are blessed financially, give big. Wealthy folks, that's a part of your purpose on this earth, to leverage your financial blessing to make big things happen in the church. Last December, our monthly income was lagging behind the need. Mid-December, I was well aware that we would likely end the year in the red for the first time since I got here. And I became aware of what that means. If we end the church in the red, we're called to be a financially responsible community, so that would mean we need to start looking at what ministries we fund less. It's not magic. It's us and financial responsibility. I began to do the exercise of how we can preserve our yes with less. One of you leveraged some resources and gave $30,000 just before the books closed. Because some of you can do things like that. And it encouraged me, right? One person who could give generously was the difference between us having to cut resources and us knowing that there was full provision. That person, and if that is you, this could be you this year, made all the difference. If you're blessed to give big, give big. Big things will happen in return. And some of us are blessed to give out of a sacrifice. We have within our community some who give at great cost. I have the opportunity as your pastor often to visit some who can't get out. And in September, I went to visit one of our couples who lives on a fixed income and is challenged to pay the rent and to have resources for food. And I got to visit with them. They continue to be visited by our care team. But after we shared communion, I was getting ready to leave, and they handed me their offering. And I dialogued. Are you sure? I know how tough times are. Are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to pay me to visit you. This is what the community provides for all of our people. And they said, no, this is our monthly offering. You're just saving me the stamp. Every month, Pastor, this is our gift. And I was overwhelmed, so encouraged. I said, are you sure? And he said, I might come up short in a lot of areas, but I will not come up short in the offering that I give to God. It can be the amount and the sacrifice that encourages. Every single one of us makes ministry possible. Every single gift preserves the ministry of the church. As Jesus said, I truly tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all, for they contribute out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had to live on. Your giving holds the balance. As the Apostle Paul encourages, I don't mean that there should be relief for others and pressure on you, but it is a question of a fair balance between your present abundance and their need, so that their abundance may be your need. Sometimes we are the ones who are blessed to be able to give, and other times we are those who will receive the blessing of a visit, or groceries, or a prayer, or a place to raise our children in the faith. Friends, your yes encourages and preserves our yes to God and neighbor. And so I close today with a formal ask. On behalf of the leaders and the people of Wesley Freedom, I ask you to consider all that the Lord has given you and respond generously. If you haven't already had time to spend in prayer and conversation around how you will pledge to give in the year ahead, we ask and challenge you to do that today. Be it as the service wraps up or throughout the day at home, pray about your call to give. Crunch the numbers. Consider what in your life can be downsized, what can have less to empower your yes, what can be sold or reprioritized so that you can give God and community a strong yes. And promise to give to your church every month in 2025. And if you are able, begin that level of giving now. Christmas spending will begin in about a week's time. Begin your called level of giving in 2025 now, before the urgent swoops in and squishes your gift. As you give according to your means, you encourage, empower, and preserve our yes to God and our yes to our neighbors. Thank you for being a generous people.